Hermes just slammed into a wall, and no amount of crocodile leather or PR polish is going to clean up this mess. Lou Doillon, yes, that Lou, the daughter of Jane Birkin herself, allegedly just pulled the fire alarm on the entire Birkin operation. And the timing couldn't be worse. The minute her legal team stepped in, Hermes reportedly went into a full-blown tailspin. The word bankruptcy isn't just a whispered rumor anymore. It's starting to feel like the next press release. I'm not surprised.
These are pieces of artwork. These artisans train years and years to make one of these bags.
Fabrice is doing the last stitching on a Kelly bag. A Kelly takes around 13 hours to be made, depending on the materials that we make it. Our artisans, they need to do 4 years of training to be able to manufacture a Kelly bag.
Well, Hermes says, made in China, does it feel cheaper? No, that's not a quality issue. It's luxury brand washing.
Hermes, you guys, it's time to show off your factories. No, I don't want to wait to go on YouTube and watch a beautiful documentary on show them off right here on TikTok. Let the world see. Okay, get like China. You gotta be ghetto about it. Just let people know.
Hermes spent decades building this pristine little fantasy, a world of waitlists, whispered invites, and elite exclusivity, all wrapped in the borrowed charm of a woman they didn't even pay to use her name. Let's not forget, Jane Birkin didn't see royalties. She saw her name turned into a status symbol for people who probably never even listened to her music or watched her films. Meanwhile, the company laughed its way to the bank, selling a bag that costs less than $2 grand to make at a $30,000 price tag.
Birkin bag at Hermes boutique will cost you 38,000 USD. But what is the real cost out of the factory? Today, I'm going to break it down in front of you, step by step. First thing first, Hermes only use the leathers from the 3 top-level suppliers. One is called Nuti from Italy. And the second is Weinheim from Germany. And the third is Haas from France. One piece of Togo leather, the same leather as this one, will cost 450 USD. And one piece of the leather is only enough to make one Birkin, okay? The thread. And of course, for Hermes Birkin, the thread is also the best top level. It's called Fil al Chinois from France. This is actually the Rolls Royce in thread. For each bag, the cost is 25 USD. And then the hardware. See, this hardware is called 316 hardware. It's also known as the ocean stainless steel because it can withstand the erosion of seawater. It's the best stainless steel. For one piece of bag, the hardware will cost 150 USD. The edge oil. This edge oil is imported from Italy. It's called heat sealed edge oil. For each bag, it will cost 50 USD. The interior lining, it used lambskin imported from France. For each bag, the cost will be 100 USD. And also inside, there is a zipper from Riri brand. And the zipper for one bag is 10 USD.
All while pretending it was about heritage and craftsmanship. Please, the bill is coming due. Because when you build your empire on a borrowed name and you forget to treat that name with respect, eventually the family takes it back. Lou didn't just sue a brand, she flipped the power dynamic.
Got a lot of requests, do Hermes next. And that's why we're here in the Highland Park Mall.
Italy, made in China, or maybe made in Chile. Oh yeah, that should be a thing, by the way. I have spent over $100,000 of my own money dissecting luxury bags, cutting them open, analyzing every stitch, every layer. Why? Because I had to know what made those bags so expensive.
Hermes may still control the stores, the stock, the PR, but Lou controls the soul of the Birkin. And if she's shutting it down, then yeah, the Emperor's Kelly green cloak was polyester all along. Imagine the silence in that room. Hermes executives, fresh off their morning espresso, probably expected another day of product meetings and influencer strategy calls. Instead, Lou Doillon drops a bomb. Not a speech, not a negotiation, just one page, one order. Shut down Birkin production or go to war in court.
Got a lot of requests, do Hermes next. And that's why we're here in the Highland Park Mall.
Italy, made in China, or maybe made in Chile. Oh yeah, that should be a thing, by the way. I have spent over $100,000 of my own money dissecting luxury bags, cutting them open, analyzing every stitch, every layer. Why? Because I had to know what made those bags so expensive.
It requires a lot of skill to turn it and get it on the right way.
Il y a des bouchées, des bacs plus 4, 5, 6, on en a. Hein.
There were no softened edges, no ambiguous language. It wasn't a request, it was a demand, and it came backed with the weight of every betrayal her mother's name had carried for decades.
I need you people to wake up and create.
You mean to tell me you believe that this man is making your Birkins in China? If he's a Birkin artisan, then I'm an astronaut.
It's made in China. I can get that for $12.
Go outside and touch grass. Some of you guys feel like this is your moment to shine and you can finally stick it to people that buy luxury.
That moment didn't just stop the presses, it shook the entire foundation of the brand. I'm talking about leather artisans being told mid-stitch to stop working, manufacturing schedules getting ripped off the walls, executives calling emergency meetings in hushed tones while legal counsel scrambled to interpret the threat. But let's be honest, there was nothing to interpret. Lou was done watching her mother's legacy get sold to the highest bidder, while the truth about manufacturing practices stayed buried under layers of luxury marketing. And good, let them sweat. Hermes turned Jane Birkin into a brand mascot without ever giving her the respect she deserved. They slapped her name on overpriced handbags, flaunted exclusivity like it was morality, and quietly outsourced the labor to factories a world away from the Parisian ateliers they loved to show off. Lou saw the hypocrisy. She lived the disconnect. And she didn't just call them out, she ripped the whole curtain down. This wasn't just a legal threat. It was an inheritance reclaimed. A daughter telling the world that her mother was more than just a silhouette on a bag. And for Hermes, this wasn't just a PR nightmare. It was the moment their untouchable myth got hit with a reality check no amount of spin could undo. Because when the name on your best-selling product tells you to stop, you stop. Or you fall. Hard. Before Lou Doillon ever stepped into the spotlight, the cracks in Hermes' facade were already beginning to show, and TikTok handed the world a crowbar. That infamous video didn't just expose a Chinese factory pumping out Birkins for a fraction of their price. It revealed the entire house of cards Hermes had been building for decades. A calm, almost smug factory worker walked viewers through the cost breakdown. Materials? Minimal. Labor? Cheap. Total cost? About $1,400. That's the same bag being sold to celebrities and collectors for close to 40 grand, paraded around as the pinnacle of European luxury. There was no dramatic background music, no flashing lights, just a phone camera and brutal honesty. And that was all it took. Consumers saw it, experts confirmed it. Suddenly the phrase "made in France" wasn't just questionable, it was laughable. This wasn't about counterfeits flooding the market. It was about the real thing being made somewhere Hermes swore it wasn't. The scandal wasn't just about the price tag, it was about the betrayal of trust, the illusion of craftsmanship, and the calculated deceit that made people believe they were buying something rare and sacred. Doillon's legal team didn't even need to dig for evidence. The internet handed them a goldmine. They immediately called it what it was, heritage fraud, and they were right. Because when your brand sells identity, and you're caught faking the origin of that identity, it doesn't just break a contract, it shatters your credibility. In France, master artisans, the same ones Hermes used as marketing props for years, saw the writing on the wall. Some packed their tools and walked out. Others began leaking internal conversations and production details to journalists, proving the label's storybook fantasy had been edited in places they never agreed to. This wasn't about outsourcing to keep up with demand. It was about covering up a supply chain they never wanted consumers to see. Hermes pushed the idea that every Birkin was birthed in a quaint French atelier, stitched by a master craftsperson with years of training. But when the lights turned on, that romantic vision turned out to be a marketing gimmick, an expensive one that's now collapsing under the weight of its own spin. And the worst part? It didn't have to be this way. But greed doesn't care about legacy. It only cares about volume. And volume, when unchecked, has consequences. The money never likes attention. Luxury brands, especially ones like Hermes, thrive in secrecy. Their entire value depends on the illusion of effortless wealth, clean books, and an unshakable foundation. But all of that quiet vanished the moment these lawsuits started stacking. You can't pretend everything's fine when you're being dragged into legal battles on 2 continents. And Hermes isn't just being sued for one thing. They're being accused of manipulating buyers, faking exclusivity, and rigging access to their most coveted product. That antitrust lawsuit from the US didn't just resurface. it came back louder, meaner, and with a fresh wave of consumer anger. Plaintiffs allege Hermes forced buyers to purchase thousands of dollars in other goods just to be allowed to buy a Birkin. And this wasn't a one-off experience. This was policy, quietly enforced through backroom deals and whispered rules. These weren't loyal customers. They were being played in a luxury casino where Hermes always won. Now, those customers want their chips back, and they brought lawyers. At the exact same time, Hermes heir Nicolas Puech found himself in a separate legal nightmare. A billion-dollar lawsuit accusing him of reneging on a share transfer deal has surfaced, and it's throwing the entire financial stability of the company into question. The fact that multiple legal fronts are erupting at once isn't a coincidence. It's a sign that control is slipping. Suppliers, who were once happy to work with Hermes on trust alone, are now demanding full payment up front. That is not the behavior of a brand with a healthy cash flow. That's the financial world smelling panic. And when analysts start tiptoeing around the term bankruptcy, you know internal forecasts aren't painting a pretty picture. No brand wants that word in the air, because once it's there, investors get cold feet, partners go silent, and consumers turn cautious. What's astonishing is how fast the illusion cracked. Hermes had been selling scarcity. Scarcity of bags, scarcity of access, scarcity of information. But all it took was one person, armed with legacy and truth, to pause production, and suddenly that scarcity stopped working in their favor. The whole structure depends on the idea that the Birkin is worth waiting for. But if production is frozen, and lawsuits are stacking, and the company looks unstable, then the bag becomes worthless. Not because it changed, but because the story behind it no longer holds up. That's the danger of building value on myth. When the myth breaks, everything it touched becomes suspect. And right now, Hermes is in the uncomfortable position of trying to convince the world that their myth is still intact, even as the financials say otherwise. The courtroom turned into a minefield, and Hermes walked straight into it wearing blindfolds. A major ruling from the Paris Judicial Court came down hard, tightening intellectual property protections and putting luxury brands on notice. Suddenly, Hermes had to prove the authenticity of every stitch, seam, and so-called French-made detail they'd been flaunting for decades. That alone would have rattled most brands. But Hermes didn't get a moment to breathe before Doillon's team moved in with precision. They filed for a full-scale external audit, demanding a complete inspection of every overseas factory involved in Birkin production. And just to turn the screws tighter, they asked for an asset freeze. Not partial, full. That means frozen accounts, restricted assets, and a legal stranglehold on the brand's operations. Basically, a demand to open every drawer, flip every cushion, and prove that nothing shady was hiding underneath. And let's be real, there's definitely something shady hiding underneath. You don't file that kind of request unless you know where the bodies are buried. Then came the style blackout. Top stylists blasted a no Birkin memo into every group chat. Suddenly, Kim K, Cardi B, Drake, everyone who once flexed orange boxes switched to Loewe or Goyard. Paparazzi were stunned. Resale apps melted as sellers panic-listed bags at fire sale prices. Fashion moves fast when reputations rot, and I'm cheering. If influencers helped inflate Birkin worship, they can help deflate it too. That's poetic balance. Leaks say the CEO told execs the cash runway is dangerously short. I'm betting Panic is the new office fragrance at 24 Rue du Faubourg. Artisans are demanding profit sharing and honesty about sourcing. One even threatened to livestream a step-by-step of a French bag assembled in Asia. Security guards now stand outside sample rooms to block phones. A brand famous for silk scarf elegance is literally locking doors to keep secrets from spilling onto Instagram. Couldn't script it better. Here's what bankruptcy would mean. Waitlists gone, deposits stuck in legal limbo, lifetime spa treatments for your croc bag, forget it. Rival labels are already plotting price hikes to grab Hermès refugees. Meanwhile, France, which relies on luxe pride, might watch its golden child tumble and take the country's image down a peg. My verdict? Hermès chased hypergrowth, padded margins with mystery factories, and thought the Birkin myth was bulletproof. Doillon just proved it's paper thin. So there it is. An icon built on exclusivity is eating its own legend while the heiress flips the table. I'm not mourning. Luxury worship turned into a cult, and cults crumble once light hits the altar. Ask yourself, if the Birkin fairy tale was really just smoke and mirrors, what other heritage brands are bluffing too? Drop your thoughts, smash that like, and let's watch this empire implode together.